Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand 2pm show. Eriksen set to leave Manchester United at the end of the season. Should Manchester United give him a new contract, but it looks like they are not going to? How would you replace him considering how important he's been this season? Also, Antony, news that he could be going on loan from Manchester United in January. Is that the right decision? Would you like to see Antony go out on loan? Is that the only way he could potentially reignite his Manchester United career? Also, some talks ahead of Fenerbahce facing Jose Mourinho. Who's going to play in that midfield? Who's going to captain the side? And we've got Ricky here to join me to discuss it. And he's already watched back the first half of the Brentford game, so excited to get that insight as well. Ricky, great to have you. Brilliant watch along yesterday. Great to have you back on the show.
I enjoyed it. It was great yesterday, wasn't it?
It was absolutely fantastic and 100% win record for us. You've spoken how important it is for Manchester United to start getting these wins together.
Yeah.
You know, you said in this Premier League, depending on results, win a few games in a row, you always put yourself in a good position. Chelsea were getting hyped up and hyped up and hyped up. Fair enough, they've just played Liverpool, who are a fantastic side. Manchester United have been, you know, hounded by the media and we have underperformed, but we're now in a position where we are only 3 points behind Chelsea. You put some wins together, you can get yourself in a decent position.
Without a shadow of a doubt, I said on the watch along that obviously before the game against Brentford was finished, that if you could string from the position that we were in, even though we were 14th, if you can just string 4 or 5 wins together, you get 12 or 15 points, say, or 12, 13 or 15 if one's a draw perhaps, and you can rapidly climb the league. And I'm pretty hopeful from the way we played. I'm pretty hopeful that we can do it. I mean, I haven't looked at the fixture list. I probably know it at the top of my head. I know we've got West Ham next. You know, it's always a tough place to go. But I think we can win.
Fenerbahce first.
Yeah, well,
you talk about the league.
Yeah, I'm talking about the league, yeah. Talking about climbing the league table.
West Ham, then Chelsea actually at home.
Chelsea at home, so that's a big one, isn't it? That is a big one for us.
Then you've got Leicester, Ipswich, Everton.
So the real, I mean, look, you shouldn't really look this far ahead and you shouldn't underestimate your opponents, but they're all winnable games. With it being a home game, even Chelsea, but I was watching Chelsea against Liverpool yesterday. They look a really good side, Chelsea. There was nothing to choose really between the two teams, and that's saying something when you're playing Liverpool at Anfield.
I think they've got defensive mistakes in them though.
Yeah, well it happens without a doubt, but they look a solid outfit.
Well anyway, let's go on to the first bit of news, because I want to bring the news into the show, and it is on Christian Eriksen, and I know that you're a big fan of Christian Eriksen, Ricky. Me, myself, I've become a big fan of Christian Eriksen this season. So it is coming out from Fabrizio Romano that there is no contract discussions as of now for Christian Eriksen with Manchester United. It remains very likely that he will leave Manchester United on a free transfer at the end of the season. Let's get a poll up and running in the chat so you can have your say. Should Manchester United give Eriksen a contract extension, or should you let him leave on a free transfer? What do you guys think? I mean, Ricky, do you think it would be a mistake for Manchester United to not extend the contract or try and get him on a new contract?
Big time I do, yeah. Obviously in football, you never know who's going to come in. You know, will we have a player who can pull the strings like Christian Eriksen can do and who can help us control games? He's only started 7 games this season and we haven't lost any of them. It's not a coincidence. And we've lost a few, haven't we? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have lost the tougher games, to be fair.
We've drawn quite a few,
it seems to be I don't know, it's an hell of a coincidence that he's not played in those tougher games. Does the manager not trust him to play in those tough games? I don't get it. He didn't play at Brighton away, didn't play against Liverpool or Spurs. Probably our 3 toughest games. I can't think of another one. So the 3 toughest games, and we've lost them all. He hasn't played in any of them. And because they're the toughest games, maybe we still would have lost them. You never know. But you give yourself your best chance, and we've got a better chance of getting a result in any game with Eriksen playing than with him not playing. And because that is the case, and I'm prepared to stick my neck out and say that's a fact, not an opinion, we have got a better chance of not losing when he plays. And with that in mind, who's going to give us that if we let him go? Do you understand what I mean? So at the end of this season, it's not just a simple, I don't think it's a simple decision, do we need to keep Christian Eriksen or not? It depends who we've signed. If we've only got the players that we've got now, we've definitely got to keep him. But if somebody else comes in, maybe in January, or we get somebody in the summer window who can, you know, who can do that job for us, really, But I think I'll be surprised if we can get someone who can do that job as well as Eriksen does it.
Well, I was thinking this season he won't play as much as he has, and as much as I've always known how brilliant he is on the ball, I always did think, especially last season, you know, he's not got the legs anymore, he's not got the engine, and that can hinder you at top level football. But this season, honestly, he's proved me wrong, and for me, he has to be in the starting 11. Yeah. Whenever I'm naming Manchester United's best side, Christian Eriksen, at this moment in time, from this season, he is in the starting 11. He has to be in there, and people say, well, the team has underperformed and that's why he looks better, and potentially that is a reason. But when I look at Manchester United's players and their team, there's so many players that aren't possession-based players and aren't good at keeping the football, and that can cause, you know, teams to counter-attack you, to be depossessed. You're in a situation where the football can be very, very erratic. Whereas when you've got Christian Eriksen in there, he's someone who keeps possession, calms it down, just keeps it ticking, keeps it simple, like you say. But he's a very intelligent footballer, not only on the ball, but his movement off the ball as well, and the positions he finds himself on the pitch. He's got great anticipation, and he adds that intelligence there. I think he's probably got the highest football IQ out of all the players that we've got, and there's something to be said for that. So, although the team has been underperforming, Christian Eriksen has really impressed me. And I think it comes down to the simple line is Manchester United play better football with Christian Eriksen in the side.
Without a doubt. And another simple way of looking at it when you're talking about whether to give him a new contract or not, obviously it's a squad game. And Eriksen, although he had an injury, was it at the beginning of last season? He was certainly injured for a while anyway, but when he was fit, he was often on the bench. He was almost always on the bench when he was fit. So suddenly he's back in the team this season. So when I mention a squad game, even if we do sign somebody who takes Eriksen's place, when you think about it, it's just logical. This is an automatic starter in the team at the moment, both in your mind and the manager's mind. He's an automatic starter in the team. So if we sign a player who takes his place in the team, surely he's the next best man to have on the bench, isn't he? You need your squad to be strong. Yeah. So if he's an automatic starter, you don't just get rid of him because you've replaced him. You need him to be on the bench because he's ahead of the other players who are challenging for his position. You know, they're challenging for his position in the team, so next season they'd be challenging for his position on the bench, if you like. Exactly.
And in an ideal world, next season, you know, I would have it in a way where Christian Eriksen isn't in my starting 11 every week, and he isn't the guaranteed starter because you want to improve, you want to get better players in, and you know he's not getting any younger. But also at the same time, what is he, 1 or 2 years older than Bruno? Like he's not a finished football player, and you can see that from this season. And okay, it may be more intense games, he can get caught sometimes. Every player has weaknesses. Yesterday though, I thought he was quite intelligent the way he used his body in terms of when we are in transition and Brentford were on the attack to help defensively for the team. But ideally next season, he wouldn't be starting every game for Manchester United. You don't have to have him because we will improve, and you will do that in the transfer window. You'd like to think Ugarte will develop and he will come into his own, and you won't have to use Christian Eriksen in every game, and you won't be there like, oh, United just play better football with Christian Eriksen because you want better players in. I get that, but like you said, as a squad, I think he's a fantastic player to have in there. And set pieces as well. You know, he's the best set piece taker we have, and that's important parts of football.
It's a massive part of the game these days. Massive part of the game.
I mean, just looking at some super chats we have in, and get voting on the poll as well. If Greg can tell me what the results are on that'd be great. Producer Greg in my ear. Humphrey says we need to find younger Eriksen with better legs. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I don't think you'll find somebody who can control a game like he does, but yeah, it'd be nice if you could. It'd be nice. It's more likely that you'll have one or the other. Somebody who's more tenacious, fitter, stronger, gets about the pitch perhaps a bit better or even a lot better. But if you find somebody like that who can also control the football and control the pace of a game like Eriksen, he's going to cost you £100 million or more. Do you know what I mean?
Well, this is what I was talking to somebody about the other week, and I was saying Christian Eriksen's so important to the way Manchester United play, but the main issue everybody has with him is, you know, he's not got the legs. That's the line that everybody says. You know, he's not quite got the engine, and he's not got the engine that you would ideally like. Then that is exactly what our scouting team should be doing, trying to find someone who plays the way that Christian Eriksen does, is intelligent on the ball in the way Christian Eriksen is. You're never going to get someone maybe the exact same, but someone in that realm who does have physicality on his side. That's what we should be doing. And there's a really interesting topic that you can counteract that with, which I will bring up in a second. Robert McCormack says, we keep the ball better when he plays. He's vital. 100% agree. I think Ahmad's another player that helps do that, but he seems to be out of joint again.
Yeah.
Brandon Ford Diver says, I've decided I'd like a United Amazon documentary. Oh, I'd absolutely love one. Whether we'll ever get one, I'm not too sure, honestly. Somebody in the chat says Zubimendi. I mean, Zubimendi is a fantastic player for Real Sociedad. Different to Christian Eriksen in terms of he's a deep-lying midfielder, but he's good on the ball and he can get around the pitch as well. Somebody I would have loved us to go and get in the summer, to be fair, but I mean, if he wouldn't leave Sociedad for Liverpool, he definitely weren't going to leave him for us in the position that we're in, which is sad to say. But someone again in the chat says Angel Gomez, a bit too short considering the height of our midfield, and I don't like to be heightist, but you need physicality in there, don't you? But another fantastic talent, fantastic player. But Ricky, what I've seen people say in the chat, why have Manchester United got Mason Mount then? Can Mason Mount be that guy who's obviously very good physically? We know his energy levels, we know how good he is at pressing, getting around the pitch, and I also think he's pretty decent on the ball as well.
Yeah.
Is he the answer?
Whether he's the answer or not, I wouldn't like to say really, because he is different in style, but he's definitely quicker, probably fitter. He gets around the park, a bit stronger. He does play the simple passes, but there's something about Eriksen, the way, just the time that he always seems to find on the ball, and the way, and it rubs off on teammates as well. I just think that Eriksen sort of controls the pace of the game, and I think Mason Mount's a really good player, but he's slightly different to Christian Eriksen, and he wouldn't let you down. But in a nutshell, the way Eriksen plays the game, if the question is Mason Mount as good as Christian Eriksen, I'd say no. But he's got different strengths, and you know he's a very good player. So he won't let you down in that role, but he wouldn't play it exact. Look, no two players are exactly the same. No two players. So he's just not quite the same as Christian Eriksen, and you know he could do a good job for you, but I don't think he'd help control the pace of the game like Eriksen does.
Yeah, I think Christian Eriksen's just so good in possession, and he's got fantastic vision.
Mount's got a good vision and he sees the short passes. I do like him, but at the end of the day, let's be honest, we've got all these injury problems. Mount seems to be in and out all the time anyway, and I'm always defending Luke. Well, not defending Luke Shaw. I'm always saying that Luke Shaw's the best left back in the country, but he's never fit. And similar applies to Mason Mount. He's hardly ever fit, it seems to me. You know, and think of that as well. He's so young, and Christian Eriksen's, early 30s, and he seems to be. I know he had There's one thing about having a serious injury, like Eriksen was out for a while, and I remember early in Luke Shaw's career at United, he was out for a year, I think, with a broken leg. You cannot criticise a player for getting a serious injury. Eriksen we spoke about it at a weekend, didn't we? Eriksen got done by Andy Carroll. You can't criticise a player for getting a serious injury. But these players who are always out with this niggle or that niggle or the other thing, Anthony Martial was the same, as much as I loved him. Mason Mount seems to be the same. It's one thing after another, as it is with Luke Shaw now. I'm not saying he's only had the one serious injury, but it always seems to be one thing after another. So we couldn't put all our eggs in one basket with Mason Mount anyway.
Mason Mount it's such a frustrating one because, like you said, I do think he's different to Christian Eriksen in terms of the way he plays the game, but I do think he is a player that helps us in possession in terms of he looks after the ball. And when you're talking about players in the team that aren't erratic, don't treat the football as if it's like a hot potato, basically.
Yeah.
Mason Mount is one of them that comes in and looks after the ball, gets around the pitch, he's physical, and I think he's got attributes that we do miss and we could do with having definitely as a squad player. I think at the start of the season when he did manage to stay fit for a couple of games, he was really showing
I think
his
he's playing well.
It's
funny when you think about it, but I mean, do you agree that when you look at Mason Mount as a player, he's more of a Bruno position player rather than a bit deeper? Now, I'm not saying he'd let you down, but I just can't quite put my finger on it, because obviously you speak about Eriksen not having the legs, but at the minute we've got Casemiro and Eriksen, and we've got Bruno a little bit further forward. For me, if Mason Mount, and this isn't a go at Bruno, I'm not a massive Bruno fan, but just because of the position that he plays, Mason Mount should be more of a threat to Bruno than he is to Eriksen, just because of how he plays and where he likes to play. Whereas if he played next to Casemiro, I don't feel as though we'd be quite as secure as we are at the moment.
It's strange because Mason Mount should be able to play deeper. I mean, Christian Eriksen isn't physically the best, yet he plays deeper for Manchester United, and he does a good job. A lot of people would like to see him in the 10, and we'll talk about whether we'll see that midweek, but he can play deeper for Manchester United, and he does a good job of it. And you'd like to think if Mason Mount is physically better than Eriksen, he could also play deeper. But I think honestly, I think the reason why Christian Eriksen can play deeper, even though he's not as physically good as Mason Mount, is because of his intelligence and his experience and he's positionally aware. Whereas I think Mason Mount, you know, he's very good at pressing, but he's probably not as positionally aware in the deeper parts of the midfield as Christian Eriksen is. So like you said, probably is more of effective Bruno. Whether Mason Mount is going to be fit for Fenerbahce, we still don't have an update. But
that'd be great if he was fit.
Wasn't long away.
We're desperate to have some fit midfield players, aren't we, with Bruno missing as well. Yeah,
it wasn't long away, so we'll discuss that in terms of the midfield that we would play, with Bruno Fernandes set to be missing as well. Robert McCormack says opponents will be told don't let Eriksen get on the ball. And Trishan Naido says Archie Gray was the player to replace Eriksen. Fantastic talent, Archie Gray. Ended up going to Spurs though, didn't he? See how he develops there. John Stewart says simple, Eriksen understands his role. Bruno should be playing as an 8, says SB14. Would you have Bruno as an 8? Plays as an 8 for Portugal.
Yeah, I watched him play for Portugal last week and I thought he played really well, and I told you this morning as well, I think Bruno looks a bit more patient in possession playing for us on at weekend than he does do normally. So, there's no reason why not.
We have an either or here for Christian Eriksen, give him a contract or let him leave on a free, and it's very, very close. 56% say let him leave on a free, 44% say give him a contract extension. What do you make of that?
Sorry, how many say give it him?
44%.
Only 44%.
I know. I find it strange. I honestly do think he's underrated within the fan base, and maybe it's because I'm spending a lot of time with you, Ricky, so you've taught me the importance of, you know, being able to look after the football. But when you've got a team that doesn't have enough players like that, you keep hold of the ones that can.
We're so clearly a better team when he plays. It's unbelievable. People must be able to see it. So, although nobody can last forever. I don't know how much longer he'll play, but is he 32? I think we said at the weekend. I'm not suggesting necessarily for us, but I won't be surprised if Eriksen plays till he's 36, 37. He's never been blessed with electric pace. Do you know what I mean? It's all about, you know, keeping on the move and just getting around the pitch. You don't have to get around the pitch like Linford Christie. Well, look, anybody who is rapid like that, you can't sprint everywhere you go. It's not physically possible to sprint time after time after time after time. You're gonna break down. If you look at somebody like Traore, who plays for, is he at Fulham now, isn't he? And he used to play for Wolves. Absolutely rapid, but he has to save a little bit in his engine. He can't sprint at full pace after every ball. Do you understand what I mean? So I think Eriksen will be fine, just because I don't think that he's going to be that much different to what he is now when he's 36, say. I really don't. But I'm not saying he'll be playing for us then, but I think he'll still be playing. Some people in the chat saying, look at Luka Modric. Yeah, look at him. I think he's 30. I think is he 38? He might even be 39 now. He's fantastic, Modric. He's still not just a good player, he's a fantastic player. Do you know what I mean? LJ says, lovely voice, fabulous hair and amazing skin. Thank you. What is your, he said, what is your secret, Ricky? Beth, you look nice as well. Keep killing these shows, you two. All the love. Thank you very much, LJ. Thank you very much. To be fair, I'm liking this little setup. It's good, that we've got going on here. It's smart, yeah. It is nice. It is good. Credit to the producer. Definitely getting the best out of what they've got. I'm talking about me, not you, Ricky. Always look good. Always look good. I mean, so on Christian Eriksen, next question I wanted to ask you. I can't believe that many people would let him go. I'm not saying I'd give him like a 10-year contract extension. I'd probably give him a 1 or 2 year extension, considering his age. I don't want to give him a massive contract, but... Like I said, Beth, I'd add this bit in as well. As I've already said, it doesn't necessarily have to start all the time either. You've still got to have a squad. Yeah. Sorry, go on. What I wanted to ask you, Fenerbahce. Yeah. Bruno not available. Yeah. At this moment in time, looks like the only choice is Casemiro
Ugarte and Christian Eriksen.
Yeah.
But if Mason Mount is back fit, does that put a spanner in the works?
Yeah, it does. I've got to be honest, and I've just spoken earlier about the fact that he seems to be injured all the time. I didn't even consider him when I'd been thinking about this before I came to do the show, and I didn't even think about Mason Mount. Do you know what I mean? I was thinking of what's he called? I always say that young lad who's played a few games in midfield. Collier. He's got to be in the squad, of course. He's got to be on the bench because we're just so short of midfield players. But if Mount's fit, I was thinking it's got to be Ugarte, it's got to be Eriksen, it's got Ugarte, Casemiro and Eriksen. But if Mount's fit, I don't see any reason why Mount shouldn't play in Bruno's place, and then at least Casemiro and Eriksen can still play in the roles that they're playing. Yeah. So that's probably what I'd do if Mount was fully fit. But you've also got to add into that he's not kicked a ball for weeks. So it might be handy if he is fit and he's on the bench even. Maybe we'll see Fletcher. Jack Fletcher is on the bench for Manchester United. He's only 17, isn't he? We worked out there. Very good player he'll be on the bench. He'll be on the bench. Is he in the squad? Oh, you can have all the youngsters in the squad, can't you? He must be eligible, yeah. Yeah, I reckon he'll be there. Yeah. Whether he gets on the pitch, I'd be a different story, but he's definitely an exciting,
Can't wait to see him
exciting talent for sure. Different to his dad, but still a proper exciting talent. But I mean, I thought Ugarte did all right when he came on in the Brentford game. I'm gutted I've not had a chance to watch the second half back yet because I want to have a look at him a bit more closely. Yeah, I was shocked at his ball carrying ability. Yeah, carried the ball really well, and I get it. It's fresh legs coming on against tired legs, so it makes it a little bit easier. But carried the ball for us up the pitch and helped us out a lot. And I thought, I didn't know you had that in your locker. So that's nice to see because Manchester United are lacking ball carriers. I thought our best ball carrier was Scott McTominay, as much as I thought, he wasn't the future for Manchester United. Would have liked to keep him as a squad player, but as Erik ten Hag says, financial fair play. They had to sell him even though they didn't want to. But I thought he was probably our best ball carrier. But Ugarte, his ball carrying looked good when he came on. I mean, another thing that someone pitched to me is dropping Xerxes back into the 10. Not a fan of that idea?
We spoke about this, didn't we, yesterday? I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind that happening at some stage, but I don't think I think it's going to be a tough game. Yes, I don't think we should try it for the first time in a tough away game. I really don't.
Wout Weghorst played 10 away at the new camp.
Yeah, Weghorst
did a fantastic job.
Weghorst was different class though. Different class, Weghorst. So underrated.
Well, striker dropping back into a 10 away from home in the Europa League game.
Yeah, it can work. It can work. But I'd sooner try it in a home game. No disrespect to Leicester. I mean, they're back in the Premier League. Leicester, it's not going to be dead easy. They might field a strong team, but also the Carabao Cup. As much as I'd love to win it, maybe it shouldn't be the highest priority, the Carabao Cup. So perhaps that's the game to try that. Try Xerxes as a 10 and Højlund at 9 against Leicester at home in the Carabao Cup. I won't mind that.
I definitely want to see Xerxes at 10 at some point. No, I just would like to see it.
I do.
It doesn't have to be for a full game. Maybe it can be the last 20 minutes of the game. But I want to see him and Højlund play together
at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. Ten Hag seemed reluctant to do it so far.
They've not. Together, no?
They've not. No. Ten Hag seemed really reluctant to do it. I mean, when Martial was, he was barely ever available. When Martial was here at the same time as Højlund, he never played them together, even though I thought they could play together. I would like to see Xerxes and Højlund play together at some point. I mean, someone says Musiala and Wirtz are best in class right now. Does Sweets... Musiala, we wouldn't be able to get him because of where we're at. We'd have to do a lot better to attract a talent like that. But oh my gosh, what I would do to get Musiala at Manchester United. I think he's absolutely fantastic. He's a young player that has vision. And he's excellent on the football, keeps it tidy, sees the short passes. Absolutely fantastic player. I rate Musiala so highly, and I am a person who believes Bruno can play a deeper role as an 8. So I do believe you can have Musiala and Bruno Fernandes.
I'm not sure about that, love.
I think you could if he was disciplined enough, and like you say, squad games and everything like that.
Yeah.
But whether Musiala could ever happen, I know he's like best friends with Joshua Xerxes. Right. Who knows? But with Manchester United in the current state we're in, we'd have to do a lot more to attract a player like that. Yeah. I'm not too naive to that. So your ideal midfield three, just to get it nailed down for the Fenerbahce game, would be?
I think I would stick with what I first thought: Ugarte, Casemiro, Eriksen. It'd be great if Mason Mount could be on the bench though and come on at some stage.
Yeah, I think you've got to ease Mason Mount back in, especially because of how injury prone he is. Mason Mount is just focused on staying fit for like 5 games, honestly. His injury record is so poor. He's like getting into the Luke Shaw Martial category.
Exactly, I just said that, and I can't believe that he came off. The last game he played, I can't remember who it was against. He came off with a head injury, didn't he? But it's not the head injury that's keeping him out.
No,
you know,
he's got another knock.
One thing after another. Didn't come off the pitch with
he's
that
made
knock,
of
did he?
absolute glass, genuinely. I mean, Eriksen. So you'd go with, I don't know.
I'd go with Ugarte, Casemiro, and then Eriksen a little bit further forward.
Yeah. Do you know what Eriksen got? Obviously the Rashford assist was a brilliant assist at the weekend, but Eriksen, I noticed when I was watching it back, he got the pre-assist to both of the goals, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Like he's just someone in that midfield that can see the right passes that need to be played. I really do. I really have rated him so far this season.
I bet he's got twice as many pre-assists as any other player in the team.
Well, a lot of the panel giving man of the match on the forum, and Goldbridge came in saying he didn't think he was good. So disagreements there. On Ugarte, I wanted to bring in this because I thought it was really interesting. I seen a tweet from Wasim United, so shout out to him. And he's put out there, and I want to get your opinions on this. He said, Ugarte is most suited as a mobile number 8 who can also high press if the game starts to allow it. I would use him in the right centre midfield position of a 3, whilst also dropping him required to form a pivot with Casemiro. People will mention Casemiro isn't good at the lone pivot. Yes, he has certain limitations, but Ugarte alongside him will put less emphasis on Casemiro, allowing him to intercept and sweep up play, which he is good at. United don't need to play through Casemiro. We have multiple options. Use Ugarte in the Herrera role. So he's basically there promoting the fact that he'd like to see Ugarte and Casemiro play together. How do you feel about that one?
Well, I think we're going to see it on Thursday night, aren't we? Let's see how it goes on Thursday night. So, you know, I'm not. I've already said that's what we. To be fair, we haven't got a lot of options, but I've already said that's what I would choose for Thursday.
Especially away from home.
Especially away from home, and
with the plays they've got, Amrabat, Fred.
Yeah. Look, we're going to see it on Thursday, so let's hope it goes well.
I want to see a bit more of Ugarte in a United shirt before I judge what I think his best position is or what I actually think he's good at. But based on the small bits I have seen, I do think him next to Casemiro would be a good combination.
Yeah.
I really do. And I want to see it midweek against Fenerbahce.
Can't wait for it.
And talking about using him in the Herrera role, I absolutely loved Herrera.
So did I.
When he was at Manchester United. If Ugarte can, come into that role himself, I would love that, and I think he is capable of it based off what I've seen and his attributes so far. So it's exciting. The good, even though I would prefer Bruno not to be suspended against Fenerbahce, you'd probably say the opposite because I would prefer to have him there as an option, and I do think he is an important player for us. I really am desperate to see some Ugarte game time, and that I think this is.
That's what's caused it. Bruno being out as well has forced it. Yeah, I obviously we've got that many. You know, as you just said, I'm not a massive Bruno fan, and I'd love to see a few games in a row without Bruno playing. One game, any game can go badly wrong. Any game, no matter. Plenty of games have gone badly wrong before anybody jumps on the bandwagon. Plenty of games have gone badly wrong with Bruno playing. So don't assume that it can't go badly wrong either way. Hopefully it doesn't go badly wrong, but it's only one game as well. If it goes badly wrong, it doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't try it again.
What do you make of this, Ricky? And then we'll circle back to Fenerbahce because I do want to speak a little bit more, especially about Rasmus Højlund, who had a very impressive game against Brentford. But what do you think about the news coming out surrounding Antony potentially being allowed to go out on loan in January? It's coming from Football Insider, but there's been a lot of rumours about that recently, about Manchester United could let Antony go out on loan in January, not really getting a sniff at Manchester United at the moment. Do you think that's a good decision by Manchester United? Do you think he needs game time elsewhere, or would you rather keep him in and around the squad?
Oh, I'm not sure what other wingers we've got. You might even tell me one or two. I don't know. But we've obviously got Rashford and Garnacho, who are the players in possession at the minute. I'd like to think that Ahmad's the next person in line, but it's very, very recent. Porto away, which is only 2 games ago, is it? Antony came on in that game and Ahmad didn't come on. So he might be like third choice in the manager's mind at the moment. He might have brought him on just thinking he's got
tactical reasons. Different
reasons for bringing him on, not just as simple as, I think he's a better player than him. Do you know what I mean? It might have been for different reasons. But for me, we've got to have 4 wingers. I think, if you let, I don't know if we get any others, but I'm just naming those 4 as the main 4. If Antony goes somewhere in January, and then one of the others gets injured, instantly you're down to 2 wingers, aren't you? And no sub winger on the bench. I don't think you can afford to let him go.
I agree in that sense. I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him go and get game time because people criticise me for this, but I genuinely do think there is a player in there. But at Manchester United, you don't have the time to play someone into form, and when you've got other wingers performing, Rashford and Garnacho both did well at the weekend. You're not going to get the opportunity that you need to really get a consistent run in the team. So I do think there's a player in Antony, and I do think having time away from Manchester United, a different team where you're going to get game time, would be a massive help. And then you'd be able to say, is he going to be able to come back to Manchester United and play a part in the squad? Or are we going to have to let him go? Are we just going to have to cut our losses and sell him? Because I think he is still only, 23, 24. Yeah. You've still got time. So I would like to see him go elsewhere. I'd love to see him go to a different Premier League team and see what he can do there. But like you said, with the limited options we have, with Sancho going, with Pellistri going, I just don't think you can afford to do it.
You can't afford to do it.
But I would like to see it.
Unless there's somebody coming through the ranks who I don't know about, who they might well have somebody there who they're ready to thrust forward to put on the bench.
There's no one that comes to my mind. Because there was Forson, but he's left. And if anyone can remember, someone might be completely slipping my mind, but Ethan Wheatley is obviously a centre forward. He's not a winger. And then when I look at, there is talent obviously in the youth teams, but no one who's really making the bench or really, coming forward right now that I can think of. But get in the comments down below. So I don't think we will loan out Antony, but I would love to see him on loan just to see if he's got that ability, he can come through it. Exactly. But let's run a poll on that. Would you like to see Antony go out on loan in January for Manchester United? Rob McCormack says definitely there is a player in Antony. I do as well. I think he's been ridiculed. He's been, criticised left, right and centre, and a lot of the criticism is deserved. But I think sometimes when a player becomes an easy target, and I think that's what has happened to Antony. And I do think, given an opportunity, you could see why Erik ten Hag did go for him, because there must be a reason. I still think about it. How can Erik ten Hag be at Ajax and push for Antony over Kudus? Don't get it. Because he's watched them both. And Kudus at the moment, for West Ham,
looks a proper player, doesn't
looks 5 times a player. He looks fantastic. There must be a player there, and I think we've seen glimpses. So
I'm not suggesting that he ever did this for Ajax, and I'm fed up of banging on about it. But I'd love to see Antony get a run on the left wing for a couple of games as well. But he's just not.
Well, Antony got the run. Not Antony, sorry. Rashford got the game on the right, and you see the right-footed cross, the curler into the box. Yeah,
straight away. And I've watched the first. He got. Actually, one of them was from the left. He happened to have a minute or so on the left, but he got 2. He got to the dead ball line twice, Rashford, just in the first half, and smashed it hard and low across the face of the goal. They both got blocked at the near post, but it looked a bit more promising than what we normally see from him.
And that's what we've been crying out for, crosses from the wingers into the box.
Yeah, we want more and more of it.
Yeah, so maybe Ten Hag's seen the light, Rick.
Yeah, they're not going to block every cross at the near post. You know what I mean? But eventually, one of them will go in off a defender, or it'll get through the defender to the striker or whatever.
Nextly, want to have a little bit of a discussion with you guys and get in the comments down below about the striker situation. Whereas Rasmus Højlund got a lot of plaudits at the weekend, and I thought he had a really good game, Joshua Zirkzee was very heavily criticised for his small cameo. I mean, what are your opinions on both the players? And I know you've watched back the first half and you had some comments you wanted to mention about Højlund.
Yeah, I've got it. I haven't had time to watch all the game back yet. I'm going to watch the second half later today. But I watched the first half this morning, and I was pleasantly surprised. I said to you before we went live, didn't I, that when you're watching the game live and you desperately want your team to do well, it's so easy to get frustrated when the tiniest little thing goes wrong and you think it's happening all the time. But I was frustrated watching the first half, but watching it back in the cold light of day, I don't think United played too badly. I think they were in control of that game and didn't deserve to be a goal behind at half-time. That also doesn't help. The fans obviously start saying it's not gone well when you're behind. It's obviously not gone that well when you're losing, is it? But we didn't deserve to be behind. And I don't just mean that De Ligt was off the park at the time when they scored that goal. I mean in general play. We made enough decent chances, our half chances, and we had a lot of possession of the ball, and we generally kept them at arm's length as well. I think we looked pretty much in control even in the first half, having re-watched it. And Højlund as well, I was under the impression the ball kept bouncing off him. It did a couple of times, but he also did really well a couple of times. There was one incident about 15 yards inside their half where the ball was played up to him, and I'll say something else as well that was said. There was a ball played up to him just inside their half where he let it go through his legs and sort of flicked it that way and turned onto it and gave it to Garnacho. It was an absolutely brilliant piece of play. He also got hold of it a couple of times. That was the best bit, but he did a few other good bits where he got hold of it and laid it off. And when you talk about the frustration of watching a game, and you know how much I love Johnny Evans, there was a ball bouncing on the edge of our box, and Johnny Evans did well to be first to it. He came out from his centre-back spot and he got first to the bouncing ball, and it's not a dead easy pass because the ball's bouncing, but he tried to fire it to Højlund, who was about 20 yards away with his back to goal, obviously. He tried to fire it straight at Højlund, and it missed him by a yard or two. And when you fire a ball at somebody who's stood waiting for it, only 20-yard pass, you can't get to it. It's impossible. You can't react to it quickly enough and get it under control. So, as much as I love Evans, the pass should have been better. But the commentator on MUTV said, Højlund's got to do better. Do you know what I mean? People see it differently. And the pass, in that input, as much as he did lose it a couple of times when he had his back to goal, there was also a couple of times where it wasn't necessarily his fault.
I think he's definitely improving in that area.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
And do you think that's the influence of the coaching staff, like Ruud van Nistelrooy,
I think Van Nistelrooy's working with him. In that respect, that side of the game, I don't think he's had a better game for United.
And this is what we want to see, because the amount of comments, and rightly so, people have said, you know, what players are improving under this management at this moment in time. It looks like a lot of them are going backwards. But Højlund, in that Brentford game, it's one game you've got to keep doing it. Of course you do. And even since he's come back from injury, to be honest, does look like he is definitely working on the weaker points of his game and becoming a better all-round striker. And the thing is, when I see Højlund, I see potential. I see so much potential.
He took his goal so well as well, didn't he?
Exactly, and I just think if you feed him and give him that service, I do really think there is a proper player in there that can develop. So it is exciting times, different type of players to Joshua Zirkzee. Do you think the criticism is fair, Ricky?
The criticism of Højlund?
Of Zirkzee.
Of Zirkzee. Not yet. Too early. And I wouldn't like to comment on the criticism from this weekend's game. As I say, I've not rewatched the second half. I really want to watch that second half again. But I think overall, you can certainly see there's a player in Zirkzee as well. And as good as much as Højlund's improving in that hold-up side of the game, it doesn't come as natural to him as it does to Zirkzee. But Højlund's got that little bit extra burst of pace. You know, they're two different players. As you asked me earlier, would I like to see them both play together? And I really would like to see them both play together. And the wing, if we do that though, the two wingers have got to do extra defence, take on extra defensive responsibility, because Zirkzee's not going to get back behind the ball as much as Bruno does, and as much as you won't like to hear it, it's got to be Bruno who misses out if Zirkzee gets a game in that position.
No, yeah, I understand that. Going to be so interesting to see if United go to Fenerbahce, and it's big ifs, if the midfield plays well and if we win the game, whether Bruno will come back in.
I'm sure he will. He's a fan's favourite. But it's the manager that's most important. He's a manager's favourite without a doubt. He's made him captain. I think if we win 6-0, they'll still bring him back in.
I do think there is a player in Zirkzee though on the back of that, and I do think people are being a bit too harsh, and I think patience is needed. Still young, getting used to the Premier League, it's tough. It's tough. So give him a bit of time, and thankfully Højlund, who he's already been there for a year, can hopefully take some of the burden on with that, and I think he thrives in it. Højlund said himself, you know, he's living his dream. He's playing for Man United. He's got number 9 on his back, and I think Højlund takes on that pressure.
Yeah, I think so. Just getting back to Xerxes and the criticism that he's getting from the weekend. As I've spoken about, people get frustrated. They're watching it live. They want everything to go well. Every half chance they want it to end up in the back of the net. So do I. And he was getting criticised for missing a chance, Xerxes, which obviously we only saw it once while we were sat doing a watch along. But I have seen that bit today, even though it was in the second half. Also, was it on Match of the Day that I saw? I saw it anyway. And the ball bounces, I think, to Rashford in like an inside left channel. And I'm not even sure he's passing it. I'm half thinking he's trying to control it. I can't really tell. But it bounces in Xerxes' path. But it's a really sharp movement of the ball, and it's 2 or 3 yards ahead of him. I literally think that he simply can't reach it. He just simply can't reach it, and he's getting a hell of a lot of flack for not scoring it. And I don't think he could have even got to it. Do you know what I mean? So people are just getting frustrated there and then and thinking, oh, you've got to get... I don't think Linford Christie would have got hold of that ball. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get what you mean, and I think as well, when someone's got an idea about someone in the head... Anything that slight thing that happens that contributes towards that idea, they'll get on their back. And you know, Xerxes has this like label over him now, you know, and so every little detail people are analysing. But I do think he needs to do better. But I think there's attributes there that we can work with, and I think patience is definitely needed. This is an interesting quote because I wanted to ask you about your front three for this Fenerbahce game. Ten Hag says, "You can see what Rashford is capable of, and that is a lot. He started against Brentford with a fighting spirit. When we bring this, we have a team that can play for trophies." Keeps, you know, talking about that fighting spirit. Do you think that's Ten Hag emphasising that maybe that's not always been there, and when, you know, Rashford is getting behind the ball, defending well, which he has been doing, and definitely doing that Brentford game and playing for a team, he can be a really impactful player? Yeah,
definitely. He was a lot better at the weekend, particularly with his tracking back, which is a phrase that I don't like, by the way. I always like us to be more in position rather than chasing back in position, already waiting for them, you know, when they've got the ball. Obviously, if they've got beyond you, you've got to track back and get back behind the ball. And I think both the wingers are doing that better at the minute. I do think that they're actually working on it. You know, players who are playing at that level, they should already be doing that, really, but they are improving at it. I think they're improving at it. They certainly did it better this weekend, both Rashford and Garnacho. Getting back, you just asked about the front three for the weekend. I think after the way it went, for the midweek game, Thursday night, I would probably stick with it. As much as I love Ahmad, and I think he's due a run out, I would probably stick with it while they're up for the fight at the moment.
Well, what I thought was interesting is Ten Hag over the last few weeks is talking about rotation.
Yeah, he's not rotating, is he?
Is he going to rotate? Because Ahmad and Antony could do with the game, but, you know, Fenerbahce away, it's a really important Europa League game. You go with your best team, don't you?
Yeah, there's certain players don't get rotated who are his favourites. Bruno hardly, if ever, gets rotated. And to be fair, with Mason Mount hardly ever being fit, to be fair, there's not really enough threat on his position. But when you look at the wingers, you know, I've banged on till I'm blue in the face that I think Ahmad's the best of the three. But surely, even if I'm wrong, he's not that far behind Rashford and Garnacho that you can't afford to rotate them more and give him more games. In other words, there is enough threat for their places, and yet they're not getting rotated at the moment.
No, Mad Joe says rotation was code for Rashford wasn't tracking back. Well, in that Porto game, that's why he got subbed off. Yeah. Because
now there you go. So they've been working on that since then.
I was speaking to people at the time at Porto. I mean, and because it got to half time, and I went, "Why is Rashford being subbed off?" Because I thought he was our most dangerous player, and I was like, "Why is Rashford getting subbed off?" And then I won't name who it was, but someone said to me, "I think it's because he didn't track back, and both the goals came from that side," and it probably was. Right. And obviously Ten Hag didn't throw him under the bus in the media when he got asked about it. He said it was rotation. And I think that was good management from Erik Ten Hag. But you've seen from Rashford since that game, his tracking back has been a lot better, and especially in the Brentford game. That's probably the happiest I've been with a Rashford performance in a very long time. There wasn't a goal, there wasn't some fancy run into the box that, like, he scored a banger, but tracked back really well, passed it well, got a great cross into the box for Garnacho. Happy days. So I would go with both. I would go with the same front three again for Fenerbahce, even though I think Ahmad is fantastic.
He's deserving of a run.
But I tell you what, gets to the 60th, 70th minute, I don't care how the game's going, I'd sub Ahmad on 100%.
He's got to start getting some game time. I agree with you. Exactly that, Beth. I do not care how the game is going. If we're chasing a goal, let's swap it, give them a different thing to worry about. If we're 2 or 3-0 up, he's not going to let you down defensively. Just give him 20, 25 minutes, no matter what the state of the game.
We're interested to see how we fare up against Amrabat and Fred, won't it?
Very, very interesting, yeah. I liked Amrabat in a big way, particularly in the cup final. He had a great game in the cup final for us, and you can't argue with that, beating Man City in a cup final. He should really go down as a big Man United hero, even though he's probably only played about 10 games for us, or whatever it was, 20 games.
I mean, honestly, I thought Amrabat was absolutely fantastic. I still remember us doing your reaction after the game outside Wembley, and you give Amrabat man of the match. He was fantastic in that game, absolutely fantastic. So it'd be great to see him. I've always loved Fred. Happy to see Fred as well. Heart of gold, I think Fred has. So it'd be nice to see them. Got to get the win, and I think we are capable of getting the win. I think a lot of people are. I mean, got to get the win is a bit of a hyperbole there. It's going to be a tough game. You don't want to underestimate Fenerbahce. I think they've only lost a game to Galatasaray this season so far, and Galatasaray, a fantastic team, as we've seen last season. They've only strengthened since then. So it is going to be tough. Jose Mourinho, away from home, absolutely will be tough. But I think you have to get at least a draw, and I think we are capable of getting a win, and a European away win would do us a world of good in terms of confidence with the run of games we've got coming up. Enjoy Writing says 3 points, all is well with the world. Beth. And Robert McCormack says Antony is the best winger at helping the fullback by a mile. I think that is the definitely the positive side of Antony's game.
I won't say by a mile. I think Ahmad's really good at it as well. I've said this a few times. Despite the fact that Garnacho and Rashford both did it better this weekend, I think it comes more natural to Antony, and it comes more natural to Ahmad to play like that. You
talk about rotation, and you talk about, you know, players that maybe haven't got two games a week in him, and maybe Johnny Evans, as good as he is and as much as I would love him to start against Fenerbahce, I don't think he will, because he came off with a little holding his hamstring, didn't he? And he's spoken.
Hopefully it was a little bit of cramp, but you never know.
He's spoken openly about it taking him a little bit longer to recover from games now. If he doesn't play, you would think it would be Martinez and De Ligt, and then you'd have Mazraoui and Dalot fullbacks again.
That's probably what the manager would go with, but Victor Lindelof's getting the odd game time, bit of game time here and there.
I forgot he was fit again.
And I'm a big fan of Lindelof, and I know he gets a lot of stick from a lot of the fans, but I believe the fans who give him a lot of stick don't know what they're talking about. Sorry about that, but I think
Ricky, you don't know what I'm talking about?
No, I think he's a really good player, Lindelof. And for me, I think Martinez is a more natural, it's not just because of Lindelof, but he's a more natural left-back, I think, than Dalot. Martinez did fine at left. I like a left-footed full-back, just like I like a left-footed winger and a right-footer. And Mazraoui was doing well. It's a tough game, football. It's when I say a tough game, I mean how tough it can be on the players when they're playing well and yet still sometimes don't get selected in the team. And Mazraoui was doing perfectly fine. And maybe Mazraoui needs to be rested a little bit longer rather than getting thrown in for 90 minutes as well. Do you know what I mean? After what's happened with him. So what I would do if it was up to me this week, I keep saying this weekend, what I would do if it was up to me on Thursday night, if Evans can't play, I would play Dalot at right back, I'd play Martinez at left back, and I would play De Ligt and Lindelof. That would be my back four. I don't think it will be. I don't think it'll be the manager's back four, but it'd be my back four. Interesting. Ricky always going for something different. Got to love it. I did forget about Victor Lindelof, so it'll be interesting to see what. He's been getting a bit of a. Did he? I forgot already. One thing I will say is. Watched the second half. Did he come on at weekend? He did, didn't he, for a little bit? I'm sure he did. Came on at Villa as well, so he's getting a little bit of game time here and there. As much as I love Lisandro Martinez, I thought he did a good job at left back. But at centre back so far this season, he's not been doing as well as what you would expect. Maybe Lindelof might get a run, but I think I'd still go with De Ligt and Martinez personally, but because I do think, you know, form is temporary, class is permanent. I think
Lissandro Martinez eventually will come back into that role, but we'll see. Rasmus Højlund, a few quotes coming out on Ruud van Nistelrooy. Everybody's asking me this question. He's helping us every day, but he's also helping the defence and the midfield. He's a very good assistant coach, but obviously he's a great striker. So you try to learn everything about him and all of these sort of things. Great stuff. Exactly what we want to be hearing. And do you know what else from the weekend that I quite liked is the unity that you could see between Ten Hag, the coaching staff, the players. You know, De Ligt getting fuming when that goal went in. Have you seen the video back?
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
You know, Ruud van Nistelrooy going and getting a yellow card. I think Darren Fletcher had like a little bit of a kerfuffle with the ref in the tunnel at half time. I think Erik Ten Hag got a yellow card. You know, you want to see that sort of thing, and you know, maybe it's so hard to say, but that, you know, sort of decision spurs you on in the second half to go and get them goals and galvanises you a little bit, and hopefully we can kick on and go on a good run now, Ricky. What do you reckon?
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I do agree with you. It certainly galvanised them and got them work. It might be a good thing that all that happened. We might not have gone and won that game had they not scored from that, because, like you just said, it galvanises you. It gets you going a bit, and you know the goals came fairly. Well, one goal came really early. Excuse me. One goal came really early in the second half, and the other one wasn't too far behind, really. So maybe that wouldn't have happened had we not gone behind. So you just never know.
Right, I'm going to do our next few fixtures, and this is just predictions, just a bit of fun to end the game, and we'll both do it, and we'll say what we think Manchester United will get, win, draw or loss. Yeah. So basically 3 points, 1 point or 0 points. So Fenerbahce away.
1 point.
West Ham away.
3 points.
Leicester in the cup.
Get through.
Chelsea at home.
1 point.
Leicester at home in the league.
3 points.
And Ipswich away.
3 points.
Nice. Okay. So there's some decent games in there. I'm going to say, I think we're going to beat Fenerbahce. I don't know why.
Oh, you're right.
Got a feeling. I think we're going to beat Fenerbahce. The West Ham game worries me. We're not good at that stadium.
Yeah, I agree.
But they are really poor so far this season. But you could just see Lopetegui, you know, this is his comeback game.
Up that day, can't
yeah, it's tough. I think we'll get through against Leicester in the cup. Chelsea at home is good.
You've not made your prediction for West Ham, even though you said it's going to be tough.
I'll go with a United win.
Right, okay.
Even though I think it will be a draw. Chelsea at home, though, honestly, we've lost against Liverpool and Spurs at home 3-0 each time. I think United have got, as good as Chelsea have been so far this season, I think United have got to go and win that game.
They have got to go and win it. It'd be fantastic. It's a home game against a team that we should be competing with for the top 4 spot. So they do sort of need to go and win it. But you're asking me, you know, what I think will happen, because Chelsea will also be up for that game. It's not, it's going to be a tough game. I fancy it to be a draw.
I'm going with a United win.
Hope you're right.
Honestly, I don't know where my confidence is coming from, genuinely, but let's see. But there are little predictions so far moving forward. Ipswich away, I think will be a win as well. So, you know, if we can get a few wins together, that'd be fantastic. Don't get me wrong, I've basically predicted a win for every game there, but within one of them there will be a hiccup, there will be a draw, there will be a loss. I don't know why I have a feeling that might come at West Ham. I hope I'm wrong. I
hope you're wrong as well. This game, I said this on the show yesterday. This game in Turkey, as much as I'd love us to win it, I don't think it's absolutely vital that we win it. You know, we want to get top 8 in that massive group as it is now. And if we can win our 3 home, we've got 3 home games left. If we can win them all and perhaps win 1 away game, I think we'll get top 8. And I think a draw. I'm not saying play for a draw. I'm just saying I won't be devastated if we draw. I'll be devastated if we lose, but I will not be upset with a draw at Fenerbahce on Thursday.
Well, now speaking to you and also looking at the chat and thinking about it, we are away from home in Turkey. The atmosphere is going to be. Yeah, do you know what? I'll go with a draw at Fenerbahce.
Who else have we got?
I'll go with a draw. I'll go with a win at West Ham and a draw at Fenerbahce.
Who else have we got away from home in that Europa League? We've got Bodo Glimt, or however you pronounce it. I think.
Let me have a look. Who have we got? Does anyone know? I'm trying to search it here. We've got Rangers at home.
Yeah.
We've got PAOK.
PAOK, yeah.
PAOK FC.
Yeah.
Second in the Super League Greece. We've got them at home as well.
Yeah.
We've got Victor Pleasant, haven't we?
Yeah.
Away from home?
We can win. We've got 2 winnable away games. Much no disrespect to those 2 clubs, but we've got 2 games there that I think away from home.
Bodo Glimt beat Porto in their place. Apparently it's a tough ground to go to. It's artificial pitch.
Oh, is it artificial? I didn't know that. Right.
Well, anyway, guys, stay tuned. Europa League week is on.
Yeah.
I will be travelling to Istanbul, bringing you all things Manchester United related on the United Stand. Cannot wait for that. And also, you'll be travelling to Istanbul as well, won't you, Ricky?
I'm travelling on Wednesday morning. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And we're going to meet each other out there and bring some content to the viewers, aren't we?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
So make sure you stay tuned for that. Oh, ring's just flown off. That's how excited I am to get to Turkey. Look, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for everybody's super chats as well. Get all your predictions in. What games do you think won? How many points do you think we'll pick up? What would your lineups be for the Fenerbahce game? How confident are you? And any comments you have, any hot takes, make sure you get them in the comments as well. Hit a like on the video. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Ricky, thank you for travelling down. And we will see you in Istanbul. Thank you, everyone.